Welcome back to Audacious Nimby. Patrick Harder's your host. Today's a great episode. Got a lot to get into. First and foremost, I want to talk about the event we have coming up. This is a look at Prince William County. It's being hosted at the Sweeney Barn. You heard Elena Schlossberg from Coalition to Protect PWC and I talk in our previous podcast. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen. She's a wealth of knowledge. So the Coalition to Protect PWC, they've been an advocacy group in our area for over a decade, really fighting for so much that's important to our county of protecting, our drinking water, protecting the trees, and really having smart development. We also have Vida Carroll with CAPSA. Vida is a warrior. We've been in many times, arguing with the supervisors, fighting the digital gateway, fighting all the different data centers spread, the housing sprawl that you see going throughout Vint Hill. It's been CAPSA. It's been so active in that. And then Ashley Studholm. Ashley is actually who gave me the idea for the name Audacious Nimby. I said, I love the idea of NIMBY, and Ashley's the one that said, you should be the Audacious NIMBY. And so she's the executive director for Prince William Conservation Alliance. This is the first time that these three have decided to put on an event together. So it's not an event to raise money. It's really an event for a community discussion. Patrick Harder's your host here, will be the MC at the event. We're planning on a number of the supervisors to be there. I think George Stewart's already said he's coming. Deshandra Jefferson is trying to get into her schedule. But it's a wonderful place, Sweeney Barn. That's a great family that really loves this area, and they've invested a lot in it. And so they have worked out an agreement with us so we could host an event there. We're expecting a minimum of 100 people. I'm thinking it'll be closer to 200 because there is so much going on. We're making the national news everywhere. We are, we're in Politico. We're in the Wall Street Journal. We were just on Fox last week. There's more articles coming out. There are international reporters coming in that are just shocked at what Prince William County has allowed to happen. And so there's a lot going on, and the community is engaged. We've been watching these housing projects that are getting approved, really in the Brentsville district right now. And then you're seeing others that are getting brought up in the Gainesville district. And so it's really looking at every square inch of land. If they could put a house, they could put a data center. That's all going on. We have Cosmos that's really starting to gear up a little bit. That's the data center that is at least as large as a digital gateway that they want to put on Saunders Lane. And of course, we have the digital gateway. So the lawsuit happened last week, and I had a number of people write me like, do you have any updates, anything going on? And I had a number of reliable people that were at the courthouse the entire day. And let's just say from pretty much everyone I spoke to, it did not go good for the county. It did not go good for the digital gateway. They had 19 attorneys. You think about that. I've been in lawsuits before. I'm in business, so it just happens. And I always got the attorneys that I could afford at the time, like $250 to $350 an hour. But I remember interviewing attorneys that were starting at $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 an hour, and that's an hour of work. They had 19 attorneys. A number of them have argued in front of the Supreme Court. So these are some of the most expensive attorneys. The county has put $2 million into this, and they totally were collapsing on the arguments. So they have really no argument. There is no reason that meeting should have ever taken place. The board knew it. Everyone knew it. They just didn't think they'd get challenged. And, the mighty Oak Valley subdivision, the Coalition to Protect PWC, both of them filed different lawsuits. The Oak Valley lawsuit is, it looks like it's getting joined together with the coalitions. And, they've been fighting that off, and really they've done great. But make sure you get your tickets to our event coming up March 16th. I think it's like $10, and that's just to kind of make certain that people show up. If you can't afford it, you could write Elena or Vida, and I'm sure there's something they could work on, the $10, but it's going to be it's going to be a wonderful event. It's going to be, very informative. And I believe it's what's going to help propel setting the vision, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to fight the data centers to have housing sprawl. And that's what everyone says to us. Like, you either get data centers or you get housing. What they don't understand is they keep trying to give us both. They keep on giving us data centers, and then they follow up like, well, do you want more data centers or should we put housing in? Instead of doing the smart development. You're going to hear Ashley Studholm talk about the 3 R's in development. You're going to hear Elena and you're going to hear Vida talk about like what are tools that have been used in other districts and other counties to protect rural areas and to reinvest into smart growth. Sewer and water line expansion. That's one thing that can be limited. So there's a number of things we're going to talk about. We're going to have our supervisors there. So, it's a time for our supervisors to hear you, to hear your voice, to hear the voice of the community. And I think we're seeing a total change in Prince William County. I think we are seeing a rebirth of what government should look like, where the government listens to the people. They are the representatives of the people. They do not lord themselves over the people. They're not like Victor Angry anymore, who recently said that he doesn't need to listen to them. He just makes decisions, whatever that crazy quote in Politico was. Instead, it's, no, you listen to the people and you represent us and not just represent the interests of developers or data centers. And so that's really what this Audacious Nimby podcast is set up to do, is just to bring this discussion point out. And one thing that I want to talk about, I've been hinting about it for a long time, and it's almost secondary at this point with the insanity of the data centers and everything going on, that we haven't talked about assemblages. If you're not from the area, I'm sure you're familiar with assemblages. Assemblages happen everywhere where ex-county employees or elected politicians, they know the track record of how to get things through. They know the people to talk to. They have the relationships. So they naturally just go into development. Sometimes they don't even wait like a month or two, even though they're supposed to wait 6. Sometimes they just jump right into development. And they promise developers, like, we've got the inside track, because Prince William County is a place where it takes relationships to get things through. Otherwise, in other words, it's pay to play. Wait, maybe you don't have assemblages in everywhere. Maybe that's unusual. Maybe that's not the standard way of doing it, that we don't have politicians becoming land developers that had never been in land development before, but all of a sudden they're in full-blown land development. And not just like a housing unit or a subdivision, the entire western end of Prince William County. And so that's what we've seen. We've seen assemblages. So I'll tell you my story. Before I ever ran for office, I received an unsolicited email from a gentleman named Horry Stewart, and he had written an email to the entire community. I think it was about 70% of us got it, and it was an offer for our property. So rather than having the properties that, like, they're just going to make an offer for your property and maybe put a couple together, I think it was 38 different people. Not everybody got the email, but it was shared throughout the community because our names are on it. All of a sudden I look and I see Patrick Harder's, his name is listed on this assemblage. And then I started getting a message that General Trimble's is also in the assemblage, and then in another assemblage, and then Poplar Ford, right in the middle, heart smack dab of Manassas Battlefield, they're in it. And then you go up 234. There's another subdivision that's in it. There's another community just up the road. And as we started looking around, we started seeing, thousands of acres, literally thousands of acres being brought into these assemblages. And it continued to expand in Brentsville. We have friends in Brentsville that all of a sudden they're writing us like, we just got a letter from the ex-chair of Prince William County offering us a phenomenal amount of money, $500,000 an acre. Some people were more, some were less. I think each assemblage seemed to be a little different. And even though it was an unsolicited emails, there was a message on it. If you talk to anybody about it, even your neighbors, like, I don't know, you could be threatened with a lawsuit or whatever it was. It was crazy. But we looked it over, and what my offer was really simple. It was like, hey, if you want to join the assemblage, you join the assemblage and you get $100 put in escrow. So that's what locks you into the whole deal. You sign your NDA, you sign everything over, and you get this $100 promise down the road that someday you could pick up, or they could take it away, like whatever it was. It wasn't a real binding on their side, but it just was a good faith offer of $100. There is rumors out there that it's like $100 gift card from Amazon, and that is not true. It was $100 in escrow, at least what I was offered. $100 I got put in escrow. that they could take out for any reason at all or no reason at all. They could just take it out and end the deal at any time. But as long as we signed off, we were signing off our ability to represent ourselves, our property rights, and we were part of the assemblage. There was penalties if we talked about it. If I signed up, I think it was, mine was 750,000. Other people might have had different, but that's what we had. And then once it got through the rezoning, it was going to a T3 is what we're looking at, 3 homes per acre. I think it was T3 or T5, but they're looking at 3 homes per acre. So, my wife and I have 19 acres. We have an old farmhouse that we didn't pay a lot of money for. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. But yeah, so we would be offered, but then at the very end, they would go through and determine your actual your actual acreage. So, those are questions we had. Is like it didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. Like, what am I signing off for? I have a full commitment. I can't talk to anybody about it. Once I sign it, I do have $100 potentially in my pocket at some point. But after rezoning, I would get $25,000, and then down the road, I could get up to $500,000 for an acre for what they determine my actual acreage to be, because it didn't just go through, the plans of the county of how many acreage I have. They would come out and assess the usable acreage I have. So that's what our assemblage was. So I had a number of questions on it, and it seemed a little bit too good to be true, but I'm always willing to at least listen to it. We had a community meeting hosted by one of my neighbors, and it was interesting. And to me at that point, Laura and I discussed it, and we just pulled out of it. We said, for us, like, everybody make their own decision, do whatever you want with your own property. But I do value, my home, my community. And I said, I'm not going to be part of this. But then about 2 weeks later, I was going to an award banquet for my son. He was a senior in high school. Their school was having an award banquet, and I get a call or a text message saying, like, hey, there's another community meeting, and this one's got Pete Canlin here. And I was like, well, I can't pass up an opportunity to hang out with Pete. It's been a while. Pete and I had, obviously I supported Pete. I was a big proponent of Pete Canlin. And then when the digital gateway went down and he stayed in office for a year, I was probably his harshest critic. I was all over Pete at that time, and his staff, they still write about me. I get a number of them that they call me short or whatever, and think that bothers me. I've been my height my whole life. I don't care about that. But yeah, I was like, Pete Canlin's there. I can't believe, that's some gumption to show up, into the wild. So I dropped Laura and my son off, and I'm like, I'm heading over there. So I went over there and, engaged with Pete. And obviously, I'm a gentleman. He's a gentleman. We were friendly, but just pushed back and a little bit and had some questions for him, and which he, kind of dodged and said he wasn't really part of it. He's just a messenger, and I think just doing it out of the goodness of his heart. So, at that point, the deal kind of died. Like, we never really heard anything back. And then we had on our election, and as soon as the election was over, all of a sudden the email picked back up again. And this time it wasn't an email from Hori. It was an email from Erica, who's on the school board in Brentsville. And so first it just said Erica, kept saying Erica T. And so, we were checking around, and you could go back. I actually have some of that on videos. If you go to our YouTube channel, you could see some of the interaction we had, because we ended up having a Zoom call. Erica T or Erica Turdednik, always mispronounce her name, but Erica, she was on there, and she's now working, as a school board member. But I think her exact quote was, in order to feed her family, she went into land development with all the experience she has. And she said she was going to take over where Pete Canlin left off. She admits that Pete kind of dropped the ball and quit engaging with us. And so she was going to be the great communicator. We had our meeting. Things kind of fell out right there. It didn't go well. Didn't hear anything from them for about a month. And then all of a sudden, got a follow-up email saying, let us know if you're in or out. But that's been the assemblage. And so, the things that I look at is it is unusual, I think, to say the least, to have, supervisors and politicians that just go full into land usage. And I think it's really unusual in Prince William County. I remember when Pete left office, he resigned, and I got a call from Janine Lawson, and she's like, Patrick, what are you doing today? So just working. She's like, come down to the supervisor meeting if you can. And she's like, it's going to be a fun one. I'm like, all right. So I get down there and she's like, stand here. And she has a press conference. And she was upset at the time because Pete had left office and within a month or two was working, I think it was Mid-County, the data centers there. And he had said like he could help get it through, which she had felt was a violation of state law that you're supposed to sit out of deals for 6 months. And since he's only a couple months out of office, that he shouldn't do that. So she held a press conference. I know a lot of supervisors got mad at her. But it's just Prince William County. And I've talked to some of the current supervisors and they said, you know, what we really want to do is get rid of this reputation that Prince William County is pay to play. We want to have like good governance. We want to have a government that represents the people. And we want to get rid of the idea that, hey, if you're buddies with so-and-so that you can get things through. And if you know this person or that person, that's how the deals get done, which is not how it should be done. So, you know, what I'd love to hear back from everybody here is if you're part of the assemblages. And, you know, obviously it's a huge financial investment. You know, we never could find out the money. There is, according to our deal, that there is a big investment, investor that's a secret investor, you know, because I kept on asking, like, county employees, at least the ones, you know, when Pete was in office or Corey, they weren't making that much money, 45,000, 49,000 a year, maybe 50, you know, back at the time they gave themselves a raise, which is a good thing. I think they should be being paid more to attract better people. But I'm like, man, if you're only making 50,000 a year, where are you getting money to? It's billions and billions of dollars for investment. So that's something that if I signed off, I might be able to find that out. But I'm interested to get your take. You know, how unusual do you feel this is in any county to have the government officials leave office and go directly into land use, to become, you know, developers and to really lead the campaign? Because this same group is also the ones signing off on Cosmos, the largest data center complex in the world. So the amount of money behind this group it's got to be crazy. So let me know if you feel this is unusual. And the other thing is, you know, how much of the properties have been offered? How big is this? What are we looking at in Prince William County? You know, from my estimates, it looks like 10,000 or more. It might be 15,000 homes, 20,000 homes is what we're looking at. I mean, it's a significant mark, maybe more, might be 30 or 40,000. I'd love if maybe George and Rebecca could reach out, and, you know, if we've got a map of something we could show. But how is this assemblage affecting you? How is it affecting your neighborhood? I know in my neighborhood, there's great turmoil. There is a lot of people that they said, hey, if this whole area is going to crap, we might as well just get out. You know, and if this is our payday, this might happen. And, you know, some people said it's going to be a deal that's going to come through very quickly. And others are like, well, you look at the digital gateway, that thing really started off with some of those people on Pageland and 2018 or 19, somewhere in there. And they're now in 2026 with on their second court case. And once this one's done, it's definitely going to the Supreme Court before anything even gets moving forward. So, you know, is this a 2 to 3 year investment in time for a huge payday, or is it more? You know, and I personally looked at it. I have other opportunities too. So we didn't go into it. I did have a Nigerian prince also write me. And that's an exciting thing. You know, we've been in communication. I can't really disclose too much. But there are other opportunities out there. So, but I want to hear back from you. How has it affected your community? How's it affected your neighbors? You know, our neighbors, you know, it was a hard thing to keep everybody together because there's some people that are looking at it and right away they just saw the great offer, and others were just adamantly against it, where they're saying like, this is my home for the last 30 years. I don't want to move, and I don't want it all changing. And they've been fighting for this area. So how has it affected your community? How has it affected people? How many have signed up on it? How many haven't? Obviously, if you signed up, you can't talk about it. You're restricted from that. For the rest of us, I don't know if we could, it said you can't talk about it, but I've never seen an unsolicited email that says like, hey, I'm sending you this information. I'm putting your name out in front of 40 people, but you're not allowed to talk about it. We could talk about it. We could put your name out there, but you can't. You know, whatever. File. Go ahead and send me the cease and desist. I don't care. But I'm interested to see how it's affected you and what you think of it. Do you think this is something that's a possibility? Is it something that we should talk about on March 16th? So really, really interested in that. And, ultimately, what do we want to see in this community? Do we want to see just this massive housing sprawl with the data centers mixed in? I was told by someone that's what young people are looking for. They don't mind data centers. So they think it's great to live in the middle of them. That was a quote from someone pretty high up there. Or is it something you say like, hey, do we want to look more like Montgomery County, where you have development, redevelopment, reinvestment, and then you have agricultural areas? Are we looking for that? So love to get your feedback on this. Again, Audacious Nimby, here just to keep the conversation going, to talk as a community. And really, my feeling on this isn't a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's a local Prince William County issue. We've seen good on both sides and we've seen bad on both sides. And ultimately, where my heart is, what's going to be best for the area we live in. And it's different. We talked about it last week on our podcast. Local politics is about what's best for our community. And so I hope you can join us March 16th for the big event. Hope you could chime in on the assemblages and your thoughts on it. And really love talking to you guys, hearing from you, and love to get some more feedback. Thank you so much.